Alright, today I'm going to be walking through an Intacct BlackLine integration using the DataBlend wizard. First couple steps are credentials. So you need to authenticate with both BlackLine and Intacct in the credentials section. Now I'm using my personal sandbox, so I have a whole bunch of credentials in here. But if I just do a quick search for BlackLine, we'll see that I have a few different ones, but this sandbox account is one that I'm currently authenticated with. Now to connect to BlackLine, you need a series of credentials here that you need to enter. So there's a username, an API key, a client ID, a client secret, a scope, an environment, and a token URL. This is all provided by BlackLine once you get your instance and the API is turned on. And those credentials sent by BlackLine just get entered into here, and then you can just test the credential, make sure you're connected, and then you're good to go. Going back to my credential list, if we look at Intacct, I have an Intacct credential, same idea, less things to enter here. We have a company ID, user ID, and user password. Sender ID and sender password default to DataBlend on the back end. However, if you have your own sender ID and sender password, you can enter those here as well. And again, you can test these credentials to make sure you are connected. Next step is running through the wizard. And in the automate section, there's the wizard. Now, first thing to do is select your source and your destination. So we want to build an integration between Sage Intacct and BlackLine. In doing so, there are a whole bunch of options for what you actually want to build. So there are subledgers, different flavors of GL account balances, GL details, multi-currency, and year-to-date P&L balances. I'm just going to walk through right now the GL account balance wizard, but you can go back through this process and create as many of these workflows as you need based on these choices. So I'm just going to hit next. And basically there's just a list of fields that need to get filled out in order to have proper parameters and credentials and things selected. So some of these are pre-populated, like data source names and GL activity names and collector names. You can completely change these or append these, whatever you want to do. But we default to kind of the baseline naming conventions here. So I'm just going to select my Sage Intacct credential that I already had set up. Now date ranges are a requirement. You can either choose relative or straight dates here. I'm going to go start of last month through end of this month. And then your starting accounts, you can filter by an account range, but I'm just going to go 1 through 999 to make sure I capture everything. And I'm just going to choose my accrual books for right now. And on to the next screen. So the next screen is all optional entries, but your entity unique identifier is just a free text field. And what this will do is it'll append this text to the location field from Intacct. If you leave it blank, it'll just default to the location field on its own. Keys 3 through 10, you can either enter text, like so, or choose a column, a dimension column from Intacct to map to one of these key fields. So some options there. Skipping accounts. If there's any accounts you don't want to include, you can skip them just by entering them in. You can enter as many as you might want. Skipping locations, same idea. You just need to know the location and the account IDs that you want to skip. And then balance sheet accounts for variance and income account for reconciliations. This is basically flipping the signs on either balance sheet accounts or income statement accounts. And again, you just need to enter the account codes here in order to perform those actions. And then if you made a mistake or if you want to remove these, you can just click the X's and remove those from your list here. Moving on, the BlackLine set up two options to send data to BlackLine. You can either do it through SFTP by turning this toggle on, or you can do it right through API using the BlackLine credential that we set up before. And that's really all there is to that. The next screen just gives you an idea of what's actually going to get built in DataBlend. You can just hit create, and then it's going to build all of these objects. And the final result will be a workflow that you can then run and kick off the integration between Intacct and BlackLine. Now again, this is specific to Intacct and BlackLine. Same concept can be done with really any other ERP, Workday, specifically using their report as a service API. So a report can be built in Workday with all the proper fields needed for BlackLine. And then DataBlend can connect to that report, pull it in, process the data, transform the data, and then send it to BlackLine, which is essentially what we're doing with the Intacct workflow here. So here's the final result. You get this workflow with a few different collections from Intacct. The data gets transformed together inside a DataBlend and then sent to BlackLine in the final step. And that's all there is to it.